Broadcast coverage on the Region Sports Network is made possible by Pulse Technology, leading the way in technological innovation for over 70 years. Strachan Van Til, your favorite Indiana-made grocery store. Boilermakers Local 374. Earn while you learn. Visit Michigan City LaPorte. Closer than you think, better than you imagine. Ironworkers Local 395. Proud to be union. Crowell Insurance Company, the insurance superheroes. Bricklayers Local 4, the best hands in the business. Athletic Performance Factory, where athletes are made. IBEW Local 697, proud to support high school sports. American Testing Services, America's trusted name in NDT. Armor Construction, it's time to armor up. Wealth Partners on Main, a partner committed to your financial success. IBEW Local 531, the electrical professionals. Sentier Bank, family owned since 1895. HealthLink, your community health center. The Right Group, the right way to buy and sell real estate. KIG Senior Solutions, navigating Medicare with confidence. Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, keeping you cool in the summer and cozy in the winter. Blythe's Team Sports, where the athlete shops. And Hampton Inn downtown Indianapolis. This is the Region Sports Network, the only game in town. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Dewan here with the Region Sports Network on this Thursday evening. I'm Mike Dewan. He's Jay Simmons. Kyle Stowers is our producer. It is Region Football Weekly, Episode 2 of this young 2026 season, live from the Diamond Plate Eatery and Pub at the Athletic Performance Factory. This is the Region Sports Network, the only game in town. Jay, how are we doing? Week 1 in the books, right? How are we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Some initial thoughts are, Week 1 sort of went the way I thought it would be. A lot of penalties, a lot of fumbles, not too many upsets, but a lot of teams finding their way throughout the game and then picking it up in the second half, especially the Crown Point game, which we'll talk about in depth. But it seemed like teams just got going in the second half.
Yeah,
it took a half to get their feet underneath them.
And we kind of have to reassure to people, right? It's only week 1. These are high schoolers, right? Jay, again, week 1, maybe taking it back to you kind of as a player or even kind of, as a coach as well. You kind of have to, prepare yourself for growth, not only for maybe yourself as a player or if you're coaching a group of guys as well. Kind of a mulligan, I guess, this week. Yes, of course, right? We have, a game to play, a goal at hand, but it's early in the season, like you said.
Yeah, a lot of teams just seem to, find their way a little bit, and all of a sudden now you got you guys that were fighting for a spot. All of a sudden you're going to see one guy sort of take a step forward, one guy maybe take a step back. You're going to see, at a position, maybe a defensive end, for example, you had a guy that was 1A and 1B. All of a sudden now the coach is going to be looking at the film, evaluating, and saying, all right, this guy, all of a sudden he's a step forward. He may get a little bit more playing time in week 2, and then and then that guy's going to take a step back, or maybe you might move him to another position just to get him on the field. But so it's going to be a lot of movement here, more so this week than any other week throughout the season in terms of player evaluations.
And this week especially, too, I know some teams didn't really have a week 0 scrimmage, right? It was kind of their first real bit of action, obviously, in the wake of the storms where some teams, couldn't hop on a bus, school didn't have power, and it was just kind of best for the team. So could probably see some much more, experience and maybe, battle-tested teams come week 2. For you all tuning in, whether you're on YouTube and Facebook, we're also on the radio tonight.
All right.
Kudos to our friends at WJOB Heartland Sports Network as well, our partners over there. It's on stations AM 1230 and FM 104.7. So thank you all for tuning in, and shout out to WJOB Radio. If you're just joining us first time this season, again, welcome on into Region Football Weekly. Again, we're live at the Diamond Plate Eatery and Pub. It's a place we're going to be all season long. Thursday evenings, Jay and I will be holding it down, of course, on Friday evenings as well. Tomorrow's especially going to be fun, so feel free to come out and hang out with us. They do halftime giveaways. They give out jerseys. I believe Drake Bowen had a jersey given out
Nice.
yesterday as
I wish
well.
I'd have been here for that.
Right. Some halftime giveaways, a lot of fun. I know tomorrow as well, the Lake Central Buccaneers. So Pop Warner programs are going to come in, have some fun, right? Let loose, of course, as they're kind of in the midst of the season.
That's right.
And then around the halftime show for us, because we'll have 3 shows going on. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But on the halftime, we'll have the Friday Night Smiles made possible by Ethos Dental. That's when we bring in some representatives of the Pop Warner team to kind of talk about their season, gearing up for the season, and kind of the overall enjoyment of football. So again, Jay, like we said last week, year 2 here at the factory, a lot of fun to be had, not only on Thursday evenings, but also all day tomorrow.
Yeah, and you look around in the bar area alone, there's 9 TVs. So if you want something on, they'll put it on for you. You got 9 TVs just in the bar area alone.
And like Jay, you work on your golf game back there with the golf simulators. Also duck pin bowling as well, so not too bad. So a lot of fun to be had here, and a lot of fun to be had on the show here on Region Football Weekly. Jay and I will be back up here next. We'll have last week's games to look at, go over the scores one last time, then get into the top 10, and of course get into the games come tomorrow evening. You are watching Region Football Weekly on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Get Pulse Technology on your team and score a touchdown with our managed print and copier services. Cover your bases with our IT and technology solutions, or hit a home run with our wide selection of office supplies. Scoreboards or AV solutions from Pulse Technology. That's a slam dunk. Or go for the grand slam with our office furniture and design services. Get in touch with us today. Pulse Technology, powering Indiana business since 1919.
Strachan Van Til for the win with 4 ways to save. Catch price drops on over 15,000 items and check the weekly ad for can't miss deals. Stack on the rewards program for digital coupons, points toward discounts and free products, and power up with our own brands. Keep your budget in the safety zone. Get the same great taste as national labels at lower prices. If you can't taste the difference, why pay the difference? Score big value with 4 ways to save at Strachan Van Til.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. If you're a contractor, it's my job to make your insurance coverage simple and affordable. Because I know time is money, I'll come to your business. Certificates and bonds are a snap. Wherever you are, whatever business you're in, we've got you covered. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Company's insurance professionals. Highland, Merrillville, and Michigan City.
From lighting up Friday night football to powering the classrooms that shape the students of Lake County, IBEW Local 697 is proud to support our region's schools and the communities we call home. A career as a union electrician could be your next great move. Your next cap might be a hard hat. IBEW Local 697, powering futures, powering the region.
Back here on the Region Sports Network, this is Region Football Weekly, Episode 2. Jay, we got some games to talk over, right? We talked about week 1 games in the book. Ready to rock and roll?
Yeah,
here.
let's do it. Knock it out.
So, the Morton Governors, 34-7, a big win over Portage. They start 1-0. Portage starts 0-1 in the Cody French era. The LaPorte Slicers and the New Prairie Cougars did battle. That's always a fun rivalry game in week 1. 2 teams we'll talk about later. 34-21 in favor of LaPorte. Was a back-and-forth game. That game was played at New Prairie. Valparaiso took the trip out to Penn, and Penn, after a pretty quick start from Valparaiso in the first quarter, Penn got the win 49-24, high-scoring affair, and the Kingsmen took care of business in that one. Calumet dropped their first game to the Fairfield Falcons 45-14. South Bend Riley beat Bishop Knoll 33-0. Boone Grove got the win over John Glenn 33-7. The Wheeler Bearcats started their season on the right foot, a team we'll talk about later in our program, 49-16 over South Central. a rivalry game between Rensselaer Central and the Kankakee Valley Cougars, 52-7 in favor of the Bombers from Rensselaer Central. A couple more games. Lake Station got the win over South Newton. Whiting gets win number 1 in the Adam Hudak era. 27-13 was the final score over North Newton. A big win for the Griffith Panthers, 63-13, the Battle of the Bike Path. Big win for Coach Mason over there. Hammond Central, 40-0 over South Bend, Washington. We'll talk about that game later. And River Forest and East Chicago Central, a good one. That one was played on Saturday, 34-30 in favor of the Ingas. But yeah, we want to dive in a little bit more into some of the games. I know we predicted some of these games as well. Most of them right, some of them wrong. But we'll start it off with Hanover Central and Michigan City, a game you and I were actually split between.
Yes, we were.
Hanover Central 28, Michigan City 10. Jay, quite the win for Hanover Central. Obviously welcoming in Doolin Foe, a team that they really got trounced by last year at Ames Field. A big first win for Tony Bartolomeo compared to Charles Salary, his first game in Michigan City.
Yeah, you look at Hanover lost 31-0 to Michigan City. Now Coach Bartolomeo flipped the switch over, 28-10 victory. It's a big victory for them because then they come in and they got Lake Central. We'll talk about that game a little bit more. But, you know, 2 Doolin Conference teams for Coach Bart in his first couple weeks. That really I think it really sets well for a lot of these lower class teams bumping up and playing some Doolin Conference teams. And then all of a sudden get into their conference schedule. Now all of a sudden, hey, you know, we can hang with these guys, you know. So it's a big step for them.
Yeah, again, quarterback stability is a big one. Wyatt Toole, obviously, who became the starter midseason last year. 11 of 14 for 156 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also had quite the rushing attack. And Dom Giglio, 23 carries for $115 and a touchdown. Anthony Lehman as well, 2 touchdown catches from his tight end role. Jay, obviously week 1, right? You win or you lose the first game, of course. 1-0 or 0-1. What difference does that make for this team, and now in this case, the Hanover Central Wildcats?
It makes practice a lot more fun when you come out week 2 and all of a sudden, you know, you got that good feeling about, hey, we played a great game week 1. We put on all this work over the summer, lifting weights in the winter, and all of a sudden you come out and you get week 1 victory. Now all of a sudden there's a pep in everybody's step. The coaches are running out there a little faster. Everybody's hustling between drills a little bit faster. It just seems everybody's a little bit happier out there on the practice field.
Now the Battle of Broadway. We move to Maryville and Andrean, a game that was usually always scheduled to be at Maryville, but things kind of switched around, and it was at Andrean this past Friday night. A great game back and forth between 2 teams that punched their ticket to the state finals last year, but Maryville just got the win 27-21. It was, I think, a late, last-second drive for Andrean. I believe it was a turnover on downs, actually, in that one, Jay. But 27-21, Maryville back and forth. Maybe a slower start to their standards. Andrean, we know that's a stifling defense,
yes,
but I'm sure that was a game you were definitely looking at while on site last Friday, Jay.
Yeah, the Andrean had the ball inside the red zone. I don't know exactly what yard line they had the ball at, but they had the ball inside the red zone and just time ran out on them. So kudos to Andrean for hanging with the big dogs.
But I'll tell you what, this Andrean team right now up at 3A, of course, the 2A state champs next year. This is a team that could really move the football equally as they could play defense as well. I mean, this is a squad that's expected to do some business at the 3A level. And again, after a 2A championship last year, they're only going to be equally as effective at 3A. Again, when you have a quarterback like Dylan Gore, who now he really kind of has the reins under center, over 240 passing yards in his first game of the season. Gavin Helpingstein, he had 100 yards on 5 catches. Tyler Vo, who's someone who kind of really led the area in receiving last year, was really on those statistical leaderboards. He kind of had a quiet night. He had over 50 yards, and he was their 3rd leading receiver. So this is an Andrean team that can spread the football around, and maybe something we haven't quite seen in a couple years, Jay, which is very scary for defenses to look out for this Andrean squad.
Well, when you have one of the top receivers in the area and he's only getting 50 yards in one game, you got 2 other guys. Now all of a sudden that means the defense has to worry about 3 guys. You can't go out and double team particular, but really the burden on the backs. Now, on the other hand, do you blitz and go man-to-man and try and get to the quarterback? So it's gonna be quite a conundrum for these defensive coaches as Andrean moves forward.
But Michael Hill of Maryville won that quarterback battle. He finished 15 of 23 for 257 yards, 3 touchdowns. His sidekick, I don't even know if I'd call him really a sidekick. Those are 2 superheroes over there. Cameron Jordan Had 164 total yards. He had 3 touchdowns to his name as well. Although we always know it's a test and drain, but it's now their 8th straight loss to those neighbors on Broad. A game that you were at, Jay. The Crown Point Bulldogs beat the Red Devils 42-7. Convention or the ball game. The low Red Devils, kind of that rugby push and a little scamper their way to the end zone. But Crown Point really turned it on. It was 15-7 at half.
It was 15.
Broke that game open. Talk to me about it, Jay.
Crown Point came out and stumbled. Literally, they had 3 turnovers. One of them led to a score. 2 of them, Lowell was able to move the ball down close to the red zone, and just one was a bad snap on it for a field goal, and one they went for it on downs. So Lowell left the minimum of 6 points on the field, and Crown Point just sort of really stumbled on themselves and tripped over their own 2 feet, trying to get some offense going. And Lowell looked great that first half, and then all of a sudden you could see in the second half that the size and the number of players on the field for Crown Point, not very many going both ways, if none. And then Lowell had a handful of guys going both ways, got tired in the second half, and then all of a sudden Crown Point just started putting it on them offensively and defensively.
What would you say about that offense now? Tice Custody, his 2nd full year under center, is expected to really kind of take that leap and really kind of take that leadership role. Had a good day to his standards, 12 and 19 for $169, 2 touchdowns, but also complemented by a great rushing attack in the backfield.
Yeah, Shutt with 10 carries, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, was our Prowl Lantern Man superhero of the game. He was unstoppable. In 2 carries, he had over 80 yards on his 2 touchdowns. He had over 80 yards, one for a 65-yard touchdown run, untouched, and then another one for, I think, about 25 yards, another one untouched. Great job by that offensive line. They seemed stymied in the first half, but all of a sudden woke up in that second half and really took it to them. Established a dominance on that line of scrimmage, both offensively and defensively, but mostly offensively for the Bulldogs. They just pushed Lowell around in that second half.
Crown Point continues to have success against the Lowell Red Devils. Munster and Lake Central did battle, a game that you and I both missed on our predictions. But
yes, we
arguably
did.
One of the shocks of the week as Munster went into the burial grounds 37-35 after a last-second field goal by Owen Burns of Munster. Back and forth game, a lot of fireworks on a Saturday evening. But Jay, your initial thoughts on this one?
I just can't believe that Lake Central defensively just dropped the ball in the second half and gave up so many points. You know, they were leading at halftime, 29-14, and to give up that many points in the second half, they're going to have to go back and really work on getting more efficient on defense, because that just, you can't let that happen in the second half.
And we talked about what it means to start 1-0. It is Munster's first win over Lake Central since 2015. It was a game where Lake Central arguably could really kind of pencil in as a 1-0 start. Now, I mean, we're going to talk about a test they're going to have later in on the show, but it's kind of gut check time here for Lake Central, Jay.
Yeah, really. And Wes Slalich, in his first career start, he's going to be named the quarterback full time. 21 for 29, 300 yards, 2 TDs. Really set the standard right there for the Lake Central Indians in their offense.
Yeah, I think it's going to probably start with them. The defense going to have to kind of retool a little bit, giving up, 37 points to a Munster squad. Well, hey, Sam Sudak, right? And this is a guy that you all have to kind of get a little bit more familiar with here with the Munster Mustangs. 5 of 12, 92 yards at the quarterback position. His first true start, but also had 170-plus yards on the ground. Added 3 more touchdowns. Quite the day for Sam Sudak and the Munster Mustangs. Their first win over Lake Central since 2015. The final game we'll discuss, another game on the Region Sports Network. It was all Hobart Brickies against the Chesterton Trojans, 33-0. A shock, I would say, in Hobart. Quite the start here when what has been back-to-back Dueling opponents. We'll talk about their matchup coming up on this Friday. But Hobart, Alex Tatum, that team really looking tough at the 4A level, Jay.
Yeah, 15 for 22, 236 yards. Talk about efficiency with only 15 completions and then 3 touchdowns, 9 carries, 62 yards, 1 touchdown. He did it with his arm and with his legs. What a great job by Tatum.
Again, a great way to start the season for Coach Eric Schreiber Jr. and the Brickies. They move to 1-0. The Trojans drop to 0-1. We'll have the top 10 up next here on Region Football Weekly. For Jay Simmons, I'm Mike Dewan. We'll be back here. This is Region Football Weekly on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Earn while you learn from the best hands in the business. The Bricklayers Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. That's right, this is a paid apprenticeship.
I'm getting an education while learning a trade and getting paid for it.
The thing that surprised me the most about this apprenticeship program is the respect I have received after the proper time and training.
Classes start soon, so apply now. There are training centers throughout Indiana and Kentucky. We are the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. The best hands in the business.
At American Testing Services, based in Hobart, Indiana, we specialize in NDT drone inspections and heat treatment services for local mills, fab shops, and facilities across the country. From Northwest Indiana to nationwide, we deliver precision, safety, and reliability. American Testing Services, America's trusted name in NDT.
You ready? Let's go! Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
Your future starts
here.
For months, it's all you've heard about. From the news broadcasts to the talk shows, from friends and family, and even from people you don't even know. It's coming to Hammond. It's really happening. It's free checking from Centier Bank. A perfect account for everyone.
Back here on the Region Sports Network, it's Region Football Weekly. Whether you're tuning in on Facebook, on YouTube, at our website at regionsports.com, or on the radio at WJOB AM 1230 or FM 104.7. I'm Mike Dewan. Jay Simmons in the house. Kyle Stowers is our producer. Our executive producer of the Region Sports Network is Chris Ramirez. And the operations manager is Rich Castillo. Well, Jay, it's the top 10, of course, and always a staple of Region Football Week. We'll start at the bottom, just on the outside, kind of looking in, and get up to the number one spot. We'll start with the LaPorte Slicers. We talked about them a little bit, getting that big win over New Prairie. This is the team that could really run the football, and they did that all against New Prairie. 2 rushers over 100 yards in that 34-21 victory.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, when you have 2 rushers over 100 yards, that means your offensive line's really doing something, pushing somebody around. So maybe they can make some noise in the Duland Conference week 1, but you never know, moving forward. Yeah, LaPorte's going to earn that title.
Good to start 1-0, right?
That's
Austin
right.
Apple, of course, their head coach, really just kind of trying to really right the ship. He knows what it takes being a LaPorte alum, and they got 2 guys in their backfield, Reed Raymond and Bryce Jones as well, each over the century mark against their rival, New Prairie. And then Chesterton kind of also on the outside looking in, right? Kind of on a performance they're going to want to flush against the Hobart Brickies. But a team that definitely has the talent, of course,
Yes,
as well.
they
Got
do.
a quarterback coming back in Hunter Boyd. A team that, again, just trying to kind of find their footing. I don't think they scrimmaged in week 0 as well, and Hobart obviously punched them in the mouth in week 1. A big test coming up tomorrow night. They're going to have to. I mean, we still think they have the potential to crack this top 10 throughout the course of the season. Jay.
Yep, Chesterton's got to right the ship, and they got to do it in a hurry. They got a tough game tomorrow, and then the rest of the season you got the Duland Conference. So they've got to adjust some things quickly, get that offensive line, give Boyd some time. From what I understand, he was running around quite a bit in that game.
A team that didn't really move all that much, it was the Lowell Red Devils, falling to 0-1, 10th in our poll. Obviously, that loss to Crown Point, not an easy test for anybody, right? 42-7 was the final score. Of course, started the game strong with that unconventional rugby kind of style touchdown, but a team that's hoping to kind of only improve, right? Take that on the chin and move onward to week 2, a game we'll talk about later. A team that we actually just mentioned in the LaPorte Slicers. Again, they're going to be on the road for that one, so they got to buckle up, get on the long bus ride. But Lowell still a very solid
Yes,
team. Of
very.
course, Casey McKim on their sidelines. And like you said, Jay, they impressed you in the first half
Yes,
until
they did.
Crown Point really kind of wear it on them.
Yeah, they did a great job in that first half, stymied them defensively and offensively. They just got to find that final cog to get that offense moving and be more efficient offensively. They seem to get behind the chains quite a bit in that game, and when you get behind the chains against a team like Crown Point, there's nothing good going to come out of it.
Entering the top 10 for the first time this season are the Wheeler Bearcats, 1-0. Of course, got a big win at home against the South Central Satellites, a team that really kind of relies on the main man in the backfield, Levi Murray. 11 carries for 188 yards and 4 touchdowns. Not a bad start to the season. You have a bell cow in the backfield, especially in that conference, Jay. A lot of guys playing both ways. If you have a guy that's going to wear on you in the backfield at an efficient rate for an 11 carries for 188 yards, that's a good start for the Wheeler Bearcats
Yes,
and
it
their
is.
new head coach over there.
And you know, Levi was there last year when Coach Testa was there. We did a few of their games. He did a great job all the way up until, you know, I think he got hurt in that Griffith game, but I think the sectional championship, week 2 of the sectionals, and he just got hurt, but he had a great season last year, and he's continuing on with 11 carries and, like you said, 188 yards, 4 touchdowns. I want that guy on my fantasy team. That's a second-round draft pick right there.
Maybe first. I don't know about that, Jay. With those numbers, 4 touchdowns,
Yeah.
you'll go right into
Yes,
my
I will.
lineup. Valparaiso drops to the 8 slot. They started out at 6. Obviously, another tough competition in week 1 against the Penn Kingsmen. 24-49 was the final score all the way at Freed Field. But Cooper Gear kind of was a solid player, solid first game. Really at the quarterback role. I believe he's only a sophomore, 8 of 16 for 128 yards. Nearly matched those totals as a rusher with 126 yards on the ground and 3 additional scores. Donnie Clark as well also had a little bit of run. Valparaiso, like we said, Jay, I mean, this is a team that's had a lot of different ball carriers. Whether it was the quarterbacks, a different couple tailbacks, even some probably receivers coming on in the jet sweep, something we've seen. They're going to run the dang ball, like Coach Marshall said. We're still a tough loss to Penn, right? But that's never easy, going all the way out there to Mishawaka and trying to take care of business.
And if I remember a few years back, I think that was one of the few losses that Valparaiso had was against Penn, and then they ended up winning state. So maybe history can repeat itself for the Vikings.
They'll have a tough path after 6A class, but never say never, especially when Jay Simmons is saying it. Hanover Central, one of the biggest movers in this list, Jay. Hanover Central up at 7 after their Duneland win over Michigan City. A big-time victory, like we said, for Coach Bart LeMayo, and a fun matchup coming up tomorrow night on the Region Sports Network.
Yeah, Coach Bart LeMayo returns home.
We can only wait and see what that matchup will be. Morton at the 6th spot. They move up as well after a big win against Portage. Diving into some of the statistics, both teams, of course, had I think it was a 7-7 ball game. At one point, Portage got on the board. Then at that point in time, it was all Morton Governors. Amari Price, the young quarterback, I believe he had over 200 yards actually through the air. An efficient day for the sophomore. Had a lot of time, of course, as a freshman. Amir Daniels, 4 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown. A well-rounded team. Again, if they could getting tested very early before kind of an easier part of their schedule, and then really trying to they have some lofty goals at the 4A class. A very winnable sectional for the Morton Governors, and they're showing their talent here early, Jay.
Yeah, and you know what, Morton, they got that open style offense. They like to put that pressure on the defense, go vertical as much as they can, and air that ball out. Especially with a sophomore quarterback who's already got a year of experience under his belt, they're only going to get better. And as season goes on, if they can give him time, they're gonna be very successful moving forward. They may move up in our poll.
A team that stays at their spot at the number 5 slot are the Griffith Panthers. 1-0, big 63-13 win over the Highland Trojans. Again, we talked about their beefy offensive line, right? They have Gavin Edwards up there who he's going to really kind of hold some things down, but this is an offense, right? It starts with them and the skill guys as well. Over 450 yards of offense. Just another Phil Mason, just kind of a route here in this one, getting the job done against the nearby rivals, the Highland Trojans.
Yep, winner of the bike path. Now they're going to paint it black and gold. We'll see.
They might, right? They might going to have a lot of painting on that bike path.
Well, Phil Mason in his career at Griffith, 23-11, 180 and 104 in his 26 years career. So Coach Mason putting the experience out there and doing a great job coaching, putting these guys in successful spots.
And another team that really has their sights set high come tournament time. At the 4 slot, 4-3 switch. Spoiler alert for the Andrean 59ers after that tough loss to Maryville. They drop down to 4 while their conference mate, the Hobart Brickies, move up to the 3 spot. Andrean still a team that, yes, they might be kind of playing, behind, right? We're going to have, maybe the Crown Points, the Maryvilles, right? They're going to be doing some great things at their class, and they might come up in front of them in the poll. But Andrean's lost to Maryville 8 straight times. And look what they do come November and October. It's just what they do. They have another tough competition tomorrow, Jay. And still, a team that played Maryville pretty closely, a team that was runner-ups and the 5A state champions last year. So not a bad start for Andrean. Yes, it's a game you want to take, of course, as well against those rivals. But a lot to look forward to, a nice passing attack. And they played a Maryville team very, very close.
Yeah, and one thing to look at, I was looking at their schedule throughout the season, and all 10 of their games are against next-level opponents, 4A, 5A, 6As. So, that's something that bodes well for them when it comes to tournament time.
I mean, even at the 3A class, they're
That's right.
still, of course, enrollment, right? They're up on Success Factor. That's why they moved up winning the state championship last year. But they're far and away the smallest team at the NCC, and they're hoping to repeat in that conference outright once again. But also, of course, tomorrow, big game for them. We'll talk about later in our program. Hobart up at 3. We talked about them a little bit, and we'll talk about them even later. But after that 33-0 thrashing at Chesterton, they deserve to move up and flip-flop with the Andrean 59ers. Again, only one vote at the 4A class. I feel like they should be getting a little bit more. They're, again, when you have all those 4A teams, they're in that little other receiving votes area. And I think voters will be on notice for another good performance potentially come tomorrow. 2 is the Maryville Pirates. Again, that big win against Andrean. They'll be tested tomorrow night. We'll talk about that. But just 61 rushing yards for that Andrean offense. Again, we know the Maryville offensive line, the defensive backfield, those are kind of younger spots for them. But obviously that defensive front holding a pretty potent rushing attack. Just 61 yards, that's a recipe for a victory right there, Joe.
That's right. And, when you control that defensive line, you can sort of dictate to what the team's going to do offensively. Andrean was fairly successful through the air, but so they've got to tighten that up a little bit. Now, is Maryville going to stay in that man-to-man defense like they usually do and blitz some people? Are going to drop back some people? They're going to have to figure that out come week 2.
In the 5A poll, according to the IFCA, the Indiana Football Coaches Association, they're still in at number 3. Yes, they are a 6A school, but still getting well represented at their former class at the 5A level. And coming in at number 1 are the Crown Point Bulldogs, a spot they've held for quite some time. Their 37th straight regular season victory. I mean, yes, we talk about those teams of yesteryear, right, that have put up such numbers. But, Jay, I mean, it is, again, this team looks – they look the part, right?
Reload.
Yes, they're reloading, right?
Yep.
Once again, they have a defense that is fairly younger. They had a lot of starters that played on that state championship runner-up game in 2023, have since graduated with the program, and it was a big part of that unit last year. But they go on and hold low to only 138 total yards of offense, and an offense that puts up 548. So we talked about kind of your analysis, one game on. You'll see them, of course, tomorrow as well. For reloading, like you said here, Jay, it's a standard.
Yeah, they've got to clean up that turnovers. They have 3 turnovers in the first half against Lowell. They've got to clean that up. And I'm sure Coach Buzia, who is since being at Crown Point, 51-9, and is overall in his 34th year, 267 wins, 98 losses. Not bad for Coach Buzia.
That'll do it. They got something brewing over there, and again, the sky is the limit for the Crown Point Bulldogs. Again, going from 10-1, in case you missed the early half of the top 10. Lowell's at 10, followed by Wheeler, Valparaiso, Hanover Central, and Morton. And the top 5 goes as follows with Griffith, Andrean, Hobart, Maryville, and the Crown Point Bulldogs. All right, Jay and I made some predictions last week, some good, some bad. We'll go over them next here on Region Football Weekly on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Calling all current and future homeowners in the Northwest Indiana area. Whether you're buying or selling, Brent Wright is here to make your real estate journey smooth and successful. With years of experience, personalized service, and a deep knowledge of the market, Brent will help you find the perfect place or get the best deal for your property. Call today at 219-406-7195 and take the first step toward your real estate goals. Contact Brent Wright, the right way to buy and sell real estate.
Flip the switch, a light turns on. Press the button, machines and instruments come to life. Touch the screen, communicate with the world. Simple tasks, guaranteed results, every second of every day. That's the power of power. And that's the power brought to you by the NECA contractors and electrical workers of Local 531.
At Athletic Performance Factory in Highland, Indiana, we push you to be bigger, faster, stronger, more explosive. Challenge every muscle with our cutting-edge sand speed and agility training. Build rock-solid strength and core stability to dominate on game day. Rent our full-size outdoor turf field for team workouts and practices. Improve your swing, boost your field skills, and protect your arm with expert one-on-one baseball and softball training built around you. We develop the entire athlete, mentally and physically. Athletic Performance Factory, where athletes are made.
At Blyce, we're used to having the athlete shop at our store.
Down, sit, put.
But sometimes they get carried away. Blyce, this is where the athlete shops.
Welcome to Diamond Plate, your new go-to sports bar with a casual vibe and elevated ballpark favorites. Dig into hand-breaded chicken tenders, juicy burgers, build your own pizzas, and don't forget our full bar stocked with local favorites and everyday classics. Located inside Athletic Performance Factory. Diamond Plate brings the fun with multi-sport simulators, duck pin bowling lanes, plus party space for birthdays, holidays, company outings, and fundraisers. Diamond Plate, where every bite, every sip, and every play is a win.
Back here on the Region Sports Network, it's Region Football Weekly. Thank you all once again for tuning in, whether on YouTube, on Facebook, on regionsports.com, or on the radio, thanks to our partners at WJOB. Again, Region Football Weekly, Episode 2. I'm Mike Dewan, Jay Simmons. We made some predictions last week. I know I said we'll get to them, next year is what I said.
Yes.
Thank you for catching me. I'm getting a little too far ahead of ourselves, but hey, let's look at how we did last week. 7-2 for you, 7-2 for myself. Where we differed, we split on the Hanover and Michigan City game. I went with the Michigan City Wolves, and you went with Hanover. You took the Valpo Vikings to my Penn Kingsmen, and we both lost to the Munster Mustangs, one of the biggest upsets of the week.
By far.
By far. I go against Lake Central. Don't plan to do that again with my alma mater. But hey, that's a happy accident, I guess, if you will.
And,
so we got a couple more games to talk about.
And
but
we are both of our upsets specials lost as well.
Potential coin flips, right? Some games that if we were to maybe go against, but no, it was a lot of chalk, like you kind of said in week one, again, the haves and the have-nots. And we'll see about week two, as Jay and I are both deadlocked at 7-2 with our top games to predict. So we'll kind of, I think, around 9 to 10 games to also look at this week, and of course talking about our games on the Region Sports Network later in the segment. But we'll start with Griffith at Munster. Again, we talked about Griffith, right? Phil Mason, a proven head coach. Again, racking up the win totals over there, high-potent offense, and getting a big win against the foe of the Munster Mustangs in the Highland Trojans. Munster now opening up at home, looking to start 2-0 for the first time since 2014. But Jay, what do you like in this one?
I got to go with the Panthers. They just played so well, and they're just clicking on. It seems like they're clicking on all cylinders. I mean, last year Griffith won 58-20. It doesn't. Nothing I saw would change my mind that Griffith's gonna win. I don't know about that big, but I'm going with Panthers.
Yeah, I like the Mustangs to keep a little bit closer. Great to see, again, Coach St. Louis, Ramos and St. Louis and Munster get that signature victory. And you can tell this program is turning in the right direction, but I just don't know if they're enough for the Griffith Panthers. But, hey, I picked against the Mustangs once, and they proved me wrong, so who knows? But I'm going to side with you here, Jay. I think Griffith goes into enemy territory, starts off 2-0 before they enter the GSSC play. Lowell and LaPorte do battle. That game will be at LaPorte. So Lowell back-to-back road games, hopping on the bus once again.
Yes.
But LaPorte, looking at them and talking with Coach Eppel over the offseason, that New Prairie game, he said, is just emotionally and physically taxing to where, yes, they could win that game. They start 1-0, right? Morale is high. It's fun to go to practice. But then you gear up for week 2 when you lay an egg. Jay, what do you think in this one? Lowell obviously 0-1. They're trying again a similar situation they were in last year, where they start the toughest of the tough,
Yes,
and they're
they
hoping
do.
to kind of work on from that. An interesting again dynamic between Lowell and LaPorte.
I'm going to have to go with Lowell on this one. I had them circled, and then you tried talking me out of it right there, Mike. But I'm going to stick with my guns. I'm going to go with the Red Devils. I'm picking 2 road favorites. That usually doesn't bode well for your record.
I'm going to split with you. I'm going to go with the
All right.
LaPorte Slicers. I think them playing at home, that sure helps. Again, Lowell just hopping back on a bus and taking quite the far bus ride to the LaPorte Slicers. I think LaPorte's going to try. Both teams, I think, are really going to try and kind of slow this game down as much as they can. They got 2 potent rushing attacks, 2 very solid running backs in the backfield. Lowell, again, with Timmy James, who's really trying to kind of avenge last week's loss. He only had about 50 yards on the ground. LaPorte, again, 2 guys over that 100-yard mark. I believe who has the ball last, and they win this game. I'm going to go with the Slicers, so we'll split on that one. Andrean is on the road against Fort Wayne Lures. It was a slugfest last year at 59-59 Broadway. 13-0 was the final score. Lures dropped the first game, but this is still a team to be reckoned with in the 3A poll. They came in at number 4 in this week's poll. Jay, another stop. Hey, stop us if you heard us before. Another test for Andrean.
Yeah, they lost. Let's see, Fort Wayne Lures lost to Adams Central, which is ranked number 5 in the state in 3A. They lost 35-20, and boy, you think Andrean might be a little beat up after that grinded out game against Maryville. So I want to. This may be my upset special, but I don't know if I could take 3 road teams in a row. So I'm going Fort Wayne Lures.
You're going to take the home team. I'm going to split with you here. I'm going to take the road
All
team.
right.
I'm going to take the Andrean 59ers. So expect our records to be a little bit different.
Will I be getting a phone call? Or something?
I guess we'll find out come next week. I think Andrean hops on the bus. It's something they've done before, and still a very experienced team. I just like seeing these 3A teams duke it out, and who knows, these 3A teams could meet each other again. You talked about
definitely.
Adams Central as well. They also moved up a team Andrean is definitely familiar with, but I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair, something similar to what we saw last year. Maryville will head down south. They'll hop on a bus and take on Lafayette Jefferson. These 2 teams last met in 2021 in the sectionals. Maryville has yet to lose against Lafayette Jefferson Broncos. But this is, again, a very good Jeff team down there.
Yes,
has done some big things at the 5A class.
And they lost last week to Indianapolis Chatard 35-7. So a tough loss in week 1. But I think Maryville's going to be riding high after that big victory against Andrean, one of their their all-time rivals. I'm going to have to go with the Pirates and taking a long bus trip. Look at 2 teams taking long bus trips here. Wow. But, it's interesting, non-conference games.
Sure.
Teams are, moving out of the area, which is good for, getting used to playoffs and what it's like to, advance into the playoffs. So that's good. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of these coaches and schools scheduling these distant games.
You have to get creative sometimes, too. I think some teams are even making their way out of state, like Michigan City. They're going to go up to Michigan to take on a very good ball club up there outside of Detroit. I'm going to go with Maryville as well. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think this is a great Lafayette Jefferson team that's going to only play to their strengths at home. Maryville, again, maybe a shaky 6-point win to their standards last week against Andrean. I think they rebound. They play well against Lafayette Jefferson. Going to be a quicker game maybe outside of the turf versus the grass like we saw last week. I'll take the Pirates with you as well. All right, we have a loaded slate on the Region Sports Network come tomorrow. We will start with Hanover Central going on the road to take on Lake Central. Jay, quite the storyline in this one between the 2 head coaches. Lay it on me and give me your prediction.
Well, you got Coach Bartolomeo was the head coach from 2016 to 2022. And then Coach Koulianis was the head coach at Hanover Central from 2015 to 2017. So it seems like they flipped on the sidelines there, and this is their first meeting. So it's going to be really interesting. And I think this could build up into a great rivalry. When I was athletic director at Clark Middle School in St. John, we always tried to get Hanover on our schedule. It took a couple years for us to match up our schedules. But I was always thinking, it's a short bus ride. And then also it could build up some camaraderie between the 2 towns and get it going. And now I see that they're doing it on the varsity level. And kudos to the athletic directors to get this thing going, because the proximity and everything, it just bodes rivalry right there. Just the two towns being so close together.
Yeah, the two teams really had to get creative over the past few seasons, finding that week 2 out of conference opponent. I know Lake Central, right? There was Providence Central Catholic, I believe, from Illinois, and Hanover Central this time last year. They took on Chittard in week 2. So these two teams, a very, very exciting match. It's going to be a lot closer to home, a lot closer bus rides. In this case for Hammond Central, but for either squad. I'm not going deep on the road, but now I got to ask Jay for a prediction.
All right, I'm going with Coach Bart and Hanover Central. I think they played so well in week 1 that it's going to just carry over into week 2. And then, just on the flip side, it seemed like Lake Central laid an egg defensively. Can they right the ship is going to be the question for Coach Koulianos and the defense.
I'm going to go with Coach K and the Indians. I think they respond and avoid their first 0-2 start, Jay, since 1997. I like the passing attack and the connection between Wes Lalich and Frankie Verta. Yeah. I believe that this team is absolutely sick after what happened last week against the Munster Mustangs and do not want to experience that again. To go 0-2 against what some could consider, maybe a lesser conference, a smaller conference in the NCC, and you're looking up at that Duneland schedule, and it's you're staring the beast right in the eyes with an 0-2 start. I believe Lake Central wants to try and avoid that, and we'll split on another game. I guess once again, another rivalry, or maybe a budding rivalry, if you will, between Boone Grove and South Central. A game will carry on the Region Sports Network come tomorrow. A close game last year between Boone Grove and South Central, 27-23. Who doesn't like small school football guys just not leaving the field for 4 quarters?
Oh, you got to love it. I did a couple Wheeler games last year, and it reminds me of, back when I played. We had 5 or 6 guys that never left the field throughout the game, and you just see that the conditioning it takes for these guys to play an entire game. You may get a break a series here, a break a series there, but those guys are on the field, It's just a different level of football, and it seems like it's a little more fun. The stands aren't as big, but the crowd is friendly and they're loud and boisterous, just as big as the Crown Point crowds and the Lake Central crowds and stuff like that. But it's just a hometown feel right there for these schools.
And I'm going to take the home team for a prediction here with South Central. I believe they got a nice running back in the backfield in Jackson Arnett, who's a young guy as well, who had a good game against Wheeler. And I think they get their first win under head coach Steve Forker against a potential new rival in the Boone Grove Wolves.
I'm going with the Boone Grove Wolves, so we are split on quite a few games. Look, he's already shaking his head. I've already lost another one.
Someone's going to have the bragging rights next week, and it might be Jay. We'll see. I don't know. He's confident. That's for sure. All right, one game I won't let you pick, but one game I definitely want to hear you talk about because you'll be on the call. Once again, it is Pike coming up here. Again, the team from North Indy coming up here to Crown Point to take on the top-ranked Crown Point Bulldogs. A 6:30 start on the Region Sports Network, so be on the lookout for that, Jay. Preparing for this game. Pike, again, although they've had some maybe average records when you look at it on paper, I mean, this team is taking on the best of the best in the Indianapolis area, and if anybody up here wants to accomplish things downstate and win the ultimate prize, it usually goes to Indy and who these Pike teams are typically playing.
Yeah, we were looking at their schedule just a few days ago, and we're just amazed that the conference's schedule, it's loaded week in and week out of potential state victory or state runner-ups compared to next to Crown Point, right? State runners-up, right? Okay, just making sure you're awake over there.
Barely.
But here's the key. Crown Point has to clean up the turnovers. They cannot expect to win this game and have 3 turnovers in the first half, because if Pike gets 3 turnovers, they're going to put up at least 17 points right there, and then Crown Point's going to be playing from behind. Even though they can do it, but they don't want to, and I'm sure Coach Bazia is going to clean that up big time. And it seemed like another thing that week 1 always shows is the special teams. They don't get a lot of live practice. You run through them a lot, but you don't go game speed in special teams. So, and Crown Point looked a little shaky in some of their special teams, so they're going to have to clean that up as well.
All right. I'm going to go with the Crown Point Bulldogs. I think I'll stick it up here. The home team gets the job done. 21-0 victory last year. Obviously, this year's not the same as last year, but looking at the success they had and going down to Indianapolis, taking care of business, I can only imagine they're going to play to their fans come tomorrow, and what will be a packed house once again at the Dog Pound. The team that's only going to hope to improve after maybe a sluggish start against Lowell. last week. Portage. Sorry, Jay.
One quick note.
Yeah, go for it.
Start time?
6:30. 6:30 start. So be on the lookout on the Region Sports Network, YouTube,
right.
Facebook, and, of course, at our website. All right, Portage will be on the road at Hobart, coming in at 3 in our poll. That game at the Brickyard will be carried on the Region Sports Network. Hobart, again, this is a team that's really clicks on all cylinders, especially kind of in the early parts of the schedule. They're trying to go 4-0 in their last 4 Duneland Conference opponents. They beat this Portage team 52-21 last year. What do we think here, Jay?
I'm definitely go with Hobart. I mean, when you got your quarterback throwing for over 200 yards, running for over 50 yards, getting touchdowns, defense playing great, they just seem like they're a wrecking ball, and they're gonna go. What'd you say so far their record is in the Duneland?
They're trying to win their 4th straight Duneland game dating back to last year.
I predict that they will win their 4th straight.
I think they will as well. Portage trying to really kind of find their footing, new head coach on their sidelines, like a new quarterback, trying to kind of really figure out, I think he's only a sophomore as well, so trying to really understand the Friday night lights. Again, first couple starts, right? It's going to be shaky for those guys really getting their first bits of action, while Hobart, a little bit more experience, especially at the quarterback position, and Alex Tatum, and quite the first week game he had. I like the Brickies here in this one as well. And finally, we'll talk about the Chesterton Trojans on the road at the Mansion against the 6th-ranked Morton Governors. A very intriguing game once again. Two teams that played it quite close last year at Chesterton. I believe that was a game-winning kick for the Trojans. 20-19 was the final score. Jay, who do you like here?
I'm going to go with Morton. I think their offense is just clicking so good that they're going to just outscore Chesterton. Now, Chesterton's going to have to right the ship offensively, get something going. They got shut out last week, so they got to figure out some stuff on that offensive line for Boyd to be able to stand up and throw the ball.
All right, it's going to be a fun week next week because I'm going to go with Chesterton.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to flip it up, and I believe that the Trojans, I mean, they look at last week kind of something similar where it's just flush it, right? We got to get back to the drawing board. Maybe, some new game plans really kind of hit this week hard. But I think the key, like you said, Jake, they have to eliminate the turnovers. This is a Morton team that's talented. They're very solid on the back end. If Chesterton does want to throw the ball, they have to protect it a lot better than they did last week. But I think it's going to be a very similar game script to last year. I'll go the Trojans by a point once again and follow suit of the 2025 final score. Other games happening all throughout the area. Let's take a look. Bowman Academy, I think they're in their first game of the season. They take on the Bishop Knoll Warriors. Calumet is on the road against River Forest. East Chicago Central takes on the host West Side Cougars. KV is on the road against the Wheeler Bearcats, who recently entered in our top 10 poll. Michigan City will go up to Detroit Cass Tech to take on the Technicians. That game, I believe, is actually being played at Wayne State, just outside of Detroit. So
awesome.
very, very
Beautiful
cool.
Stadium.
Very, very cool experience for Michigan City and both those teams up there. Some other games to note. TF South takes on Hammond Central. That game is to be played at Hammond Central. South Bend Riley will be on the road to take on the host Valparaiso Vikings. And the Whiting Oilers will head to the Highland Trojans. Jay, any final thoughts as we gear up for week number 2 here in the region?
I think one of the things that you're going to see is a lot cleaner play from week 1 to week 2. You clean up the turnovers, like I talked about Crown Point. You clean up the play, the penalties, and then you also hit home on the special team. I saw a couple missed snaps on some punts and some field goal attempts in the little Crown Point game. Everybody's going to be cleaning those things up. So I predict a lot crisper games in terms of play, no penalty or fewer penalties, less turnovers.
All right, a loaded slate coming tomorrow, so be on the lookout for all of our games. We also have, really the same schedule for us outside of games. We'll be here at the Diamond Plate Eatery and Pub for a tailgate show. We'll have our halftime show, talk with some of the Pop Warner representatives, and wrap it all up with the tailgate show. We'll also have our Strack and Van Til hometown scoreboard, courtesy of our friends at Strack and Van Til, with all live scoring updates and, of course, the final scores. And then on Saturday morning, feel free to check that out as well on YouTube, Facebook, and regionsports.com. But if you want to be a part of the fun over here, come on down to Diamond Plate Eatery and Pub here in Highland. It is at the Athletic Performance Factory on 45th Street. For Jay Simmons, for Kyle Stowers, our producer, I'm Mike Dewan, signing off. This has been episode 2 of Region Football Weekly on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town. Is your home ready for a refresh? Trust the cleaning and restoration specialist at Master Clean. For over 40 years, Master Clean has helped Northwest Indiana homeowners keep their homes looking their best. With professional carpet and upholstery cleaning, tile and grout cleaning, pet stain and odor removal, and more. With honest pricing and satisfaction guaranteed, you can count on Master Clean to get the job done right. Call 219-662-7838 or visit mastercleanselect.com today. Master Clean. Life happens. We help clean it up. Navigating Medicare doesn't have to be overwhelming. Crown Point's Christina Cherenko is a licensed insurance agent helping clients locally and nationwide with Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, and separate dental, hearing, and vision options. Her personalized guidance is always free. Call Christina today at 219-444-0304 or visit KIGcares.com. KIG Senior Solutions is not connected with the federal Medicare program. Contacting this number connects you with a licensed insurance agent. This is an advertisement for insurance.
Every great football game is shaped long before the final drive. It's built through preparation, discipline, and a plan. Retirement is no different. The closer you get, the more important every decision becomes. At Wealth Partners on Main, we help you build a personalized retirement strategy, so when you approach your retirement red zone, you can move forward with confidence. Because the best outcomes aren't left to chance. They're planned. Wealth Partners on Main, your home team for retirement.
For 26 years, Armor Construction has been beautifying homes across Northwest Indiana. From expert roofing and durable siding to eye-catching custom copper work, Armor Construction does it all with the highest quality and integrity. Serving Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties, trust the best exterior construction company in Northwest Indiana to protect your investment.
With electrical services from Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, you can radiate the perfect amount of light and energy into your home. From rewiring and code upgrades to ceiling fans, lighting, security, and more, Economy Electric Heating and Cooling's trained electricians ensure you can enjoy your home on the time. Free on electrical, while Economy Electric Heating and Cooling at 219-923-4441, and you can visit them on the web at 4ajobdoneright.com. That's the number 4ajobdoneright.com.